Good morning and welcome to the November 30th edition of the SPIT committee meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order and looking for approval of the agenda, please.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and first agenda item is the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
Motion
moved.
to, yeah, second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And up next is Mr. Parker with the technology update.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
In technology services, we're always looking to be more efficient and secure with every action that we take. And part of this is some of the topics I'm going to bring to you today, and I'm going to highlight some of the work that we've completed thus far. The wide area network proposal is up for bid, and it ends on it started November the 9th, ends December the 9th, and we will award a new vendor. And this is our black fiber network that, if you picture a spider web of connections between all of our buildings and schools, they all web back to our technology services. And the vendor provides that speed of 1 gig in elementary schools, 5 gig in middle and high schools, with burstables up to 10 gig in all locations. We also installed a fault tolerant network that also allows you to fail over. If one school is running over that 1 gig or 5 gig limit, they can borrow from another school if needed. The last contract was signed in 2016. It was a 5-year contract with a 2-year extension with a vendor called Conterra. Now it is an open bid. We're looking for vendors to provide the same service to our district, to give us that optics of 1 gig in all our elementary and 5 to 10 gig in all of our middle and high schools. We also want that responsiveness from all of our vendors of having a quicker repair time. In the past, we've had some slow repair times, so we want to improve our services to our schools. We want that reliance and performance out there for the next 5 to 7 years. That contract will come up. I will highlight which vendor we choose and the process we go through in the January board meeting, and we find that person, that vendor to do it. The E-rate pays for this. It's typically a very expensive project. E-rate funds this. This is from fines and forfeitures from the government that provide communications for schools. And that's how this will be funded in the end. The second one is the fund balance update for our core data center. All servers have a life expectancy of 6 to 8 years. And with warranties expiring typically in that period, 6 to 7 years, they start to expire. For performance and reliability, those need to be upgraded. And our core data center used the fund balance expense to replenish and refresh all of our servers. We have now dropped from about 42 servers down to 17. We've virtualized everything in our data center. We moved our redundancy and replication up to the cloud. Azure Web Services and Microsoft Azure both are now backed up with it. We decreased our footprint and we increased our performance and manage of all of these devices. So over that time period, we have used that money, but we're getting smarter and better each day. We're trying to provide that service and reliability for the district. It hosts all operations from finance to HR to classroom instruction comes from those servers. The third one is our fund balance update with a cybersecurity vault. As many of you are aware, cybersecurity is at the forefront of everybody's concern. It is our #1 topic now of discussions among CTOs. And one of our necessary steps is to provide that CyberSense vault from Dell. And this will give us a digital signature of every item that's backed up. If it doesn't have a digital signature, is not stored in our CyberSense vault, this will protect us and give us another layer for cybersecurity protection, and also give us assurance that what we are backing up has fidelity and that we could restore. And that is $220,000. Dell provided the product for our servers. We are waiting to put that in. The ETA is January. In preparation of that time frame, we've already completed all our backups and made our server swaps. So now we're just waiting on those switches to show up from Dell, which are going to show up first part of January again. The fourth one is the 2023-2024 Chromebook refresh with grades 6 through 12. The last time we did any refresh in those grade levels, it's been 2018-19. As with all of our cycles, we do a 5-year refresh of devices, and that includes staff and student devices are set up on a 5-year cycle to stay current with technology and be compatible with all the applications out there and provide the best tools for our students and staff. That is a requirement to have that 5-year refresh. In the spring, we will offer an RFP out for our for vendors to bid on our 6 through 12. It'll be somewhere in the 28,000 Chromebooks, and we'll refresh the 6 through 12. The 3 through 5, if you remember, we refreshed them back in 2021 year, and they're 3 years old. So we will come back to them in 2 years. So as you can see, we're on that 5-year cycle, and this is part of our 6 through 12 refresh. Our hope is to have the RFP completed by the end of May, receive the units over the summer, and provide our students with new devices coming into the next school year of 24-25 of the Chromebooks. The last one is our visitor management request proposal. That is our currently our vendor is Identikid. This is the software that when you enter a school, it scans your ID, creates you a name tag. You can log in and out, and those for visitors and all of our schools and at our central office. That vendor has changed their support model that they currently have. They no longer provide on-site support. They require our staff to stay on the phone for hours to troubleshoot issues, install devices, and as a result, we went back to an RFP now looking for vendors that can provide an on-site support and give us a better product. And while we had that opening out there, we want to entail all the latest technology pieces with it, including a remote check-in and an ability to track online where individuals are within the school. So that's one of our next steps, and we'll be evaluating those. That ends January 20th, and then we'll be coming back to this committee with a proposal. Mr. Jared McCraw will be the one that will manage that. Once we find the product that'll go, he will be the one that will manage it and oversee it. And he wanted a platform that he could centralize, manage all of the schools where if alert shows up, it shows centrally, and he can manage that, and we're aware of any individual that comes in our school that has an alert applied to their identification. So those are the 5 that wanted you to know the expenses coming for the refresh and wanted you to see where the fund balance money was spent. Any questions?
Jay, if we change vendors for the Identikid, the visitor and volunteer entry system, will that entail purchase or lease of new hardware as well?
Yes, sir. Within the RFP, we asked the vendor to provide that they provide all of the hardware, they provide the on-site service, and they give us a 5-year warranty with all of their products. So we can ensure that they will give someone that will come to your location, fix it or repair whatever it is, but it's included in the cost now.
Okay. Where are we on the acquisition and distribution of the new Lenovo laptops for teachers and staff?
Yes, sir. I had a discussion with them this week. We're expecting shipments to start next week. It was in what we call white glove service right now with the vendor Celtec, and they are putting asset tags, cases. They're actually registering these with Microsoft, and they create images using a product called Microsoft Intune. So what that entails is when an individual signs on at the school based on their role, as soon as they sign on to the machine, it will image it based on their role and give them the necessary applications to do their job. And those will ship next week. We will start, we're expecting it next week. And if they show up, they're shipped directly to the schools. We've already updated CATA. We've already updated Walter Bickett, Ed. We've updated Wolf and Early College. Those are already completed. And we used last year's emergency connectivity funds and what we call Gen 1 devices for them. The Gen 3s will show up. They're very similar. The only difference is processor and the motherboard size. but that's about it. But we're expecting to start this process over the next few weeks. You should see a lot of activity.
Great, thank you.
The equipment that you updated those schools that you mentioned, when the new ones come, will they also get newer ones, or are they at the level that they'll remain at?
Yes, sir. They'll stay at the level they remain at currently. And what we will do is, with the devices that were collected, we're refreshing those. They will go to the students at early college. They're using really old laptops right now, and we want to provide them with the latest technology, so they will accept these devices now for instruction. And we'll also go back and refresh all of our media centers and take out the towers, the desktop towers, and put the laptops in those centers too. So we're not removing them completely. We're refreshing them, cleaning them up, and reutilizing them back in our schools.
Now, that list that you gave in the beginning, you outlined all of your projects. Was there anything excluded from that list? Did you mention all of the items that you need at this time?
Yes, sir. In the budget request, we asked for fund balance for that cyber sense, and we also asked for our core data center. Those are two key elements to keep our district safe and keep our performance up. Both of those were funded, and both of them are almost complete. By the end of January, we will have all of that installed and completed.
Thank you. And we're yet standing by you.
Mr. Parker, is there any, are you getting good response? Like, are you getting vendors willing to work with us?
I am actually for all of the RFPs, and we're vendor agnostic. So when we open this up, we don't look at just the price. We look at the complete package from a vendor. We also have evaluations performed by either our staff or students to complete that surveys so that we select the right product. But yes, we're having a lot of interest in our district. They know we're a high performing district. They know that that we expect the best for our students and staff, and now they are stepping up their game to be part of our family.
Good deal. All right, anything else for Mr. Parker? Appreciate the update.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is a transportation update. Mr. Colin Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee members, and want to give you a little update. I've got Brian Joyner on the phone with us on our call, so I'm gonna turn over to Brian. He's gonna give you an update on our current transportation staffing, give you an update on propane buses, and then also a little quick update on the smart school bus program. So Brian, I'll let you take it over.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Just some updates on staffing. We'll start with that. Currently, we're running 213 routed buses, and we have 9 of those buses with no drivers assigned. Now, we started off the school year with 214 buses, and we were short 13 drivers. So I wanted to kind of give you some numbers on the applications we've received and what our staffing has looked like from July 1st up through November 28th, which is when we produced this update. So from the beginning of the year, bus driver applications that we've received, which is people who are actually licensed drivers with the Class B with P&S, we've had 27 applicants total. Right out of the gate, 14 of those folks were not eligible for hire due to their driving records. And then we had one that was hired who's already resigned. And right now we've got 2 applicants that are being processed, which means they're being interviewed, and we're working on getting references from those. And out of those 27, we have 3 of them who have been hired and are currently still driving for us. Bus driver trainees are folks that we hire that are not licensed. We pay them to go through the entire process. We've had 97 applicants for our bus driver trainee position. Right out of the gate with driving records, we've had 54 of those that were not eligible. We have 8 of those trainees that actually became drivers and are currently driving for us now. Trainees that have been resigned or that we've had to part ways with, we've had 8 of those. We have 1 that is pending HR approval, and we've got 4 trainees we're working on through the process of getting references. References sometimes for us can be a slight challenge. And we have 11 trainees that are actually hired and working through various stages. We've got some that are waiting to take the class, some that have taken the class and are holding their CLPs. So we do have some light at the end of the tunnel here. We have received 5 of the 5 propane buses from the first Volkswagen settlement, where we were actually recently awarded 1 additional propane bus from part 2 of the settlement. So we're not unsure when we'll receive that bus, but we do have the 5 that from the first settlement, they're in and on site. Our smart bus safety pilot program that we're doing, we're about 95% of phase 1 is complete. Our Samsara GPS and parent portal app have been launched and they're functioning as they're intended. Our new payroll software is in place and we're currently working with the vendor to make some improvements to fit our needs better, but we are utilizing that software. We have Web School Assistant currently in place. That provides schools with direct access to our student transportation assignments. The schools can go in there and look up all kinds of reporting. They have more reporting capabilities than what they have with our old system. And we have system management in place for their schools that allows schools to go in, request transportation for students with IEPs, 504 plans, McKinney-Vento, foster kids, any kind of special transportation requirements that students may have. We're currently working towards phase 2 with the Athena routing software. The company is working on the gap analysis right now before they release it to us. So we're hoping soon to begin that process of getting that installed. And we're still waiting for the tablet-based seating charts and the student ridership tracking, which we are hoping will come in early spring. In December, we have scheduled for our drivers and updates a recorded video message. Scott and I have been doing, we've found that we try to do a monthly update for our drivers and safety assistants. We've found the drivers really like that and respond well. They're able to watch the video message at their own leisure and just gives them updates on the department. And any questions they have, we're able to answer that on that platform. And it's worked out well for us. So we have that scheduled for December 12th. And that concludes my updates. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Go ahead, Joe.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say, I've been pleasantly pleased that we haven't heard a whole lot of feedback, either positive or negative, on the transition to the new parent portal from the Here Comes the Bus app. So I'm assuming everything went seamless there, same functionality or better, right? Because like I said, I haven't heard any complaints, and I know that it was a very useful tool previously. So I was a little concerned when we were moving away from it, but I've been pleasantly pleased that we haven't heard a whole lot of rumbling.
Yeah, so far in the beginning, we had a few small glitches, but we worked through that with the company and we were able to assist parents. We still have a few questions from folks, but the feedback so far has been fairly positive.
Well, as a parent that actively uses the application, I can give you some feedback. I think it is a vast improvement over the Here Comes the Bus. It's much more accurate, gives you a heads up, better tracking of where it is, where the bus is. I think it's a big improvement.
Thank you.
I had two questions. Are the propane buses actually in service carrying kids yet? Or are they just still being tested?
3 of the 5 are. 3 of the 5 are. We've got one that's very close. The other one actually just arrived 2 days ago. The last, the 5th one arrived 2 days ago. So we're working on installing cameras and GPS systems, and we're running it through the shop now.
Is it too soon to tell if the operating costs for propane buses are less than diesel or gas?
We'll probably need to analyze that over a little bit more time. Currently, the 3 we're having, I pulled it this morning, they're averaging approximately 4.3 miles a gallon. And we're paying approximately $1.58 a gallon for propane. Whereas with the diesel, we're paying $3.86 a gallon, but we're getting 8 to 10 miles a gallon. So as time goes on and we run them longer, we'll be able to analyze that better.
Sounds like it may be a draw as far as fuel consumption and cost. Okay. Excellent. It sounds like from your part of your presentation about hiring drivers, it sounds like you have about a 10% hit rate. 10% of those that apply actually qualify and make it through the system. So that doesn't make your job very easy. I understand so very early on in the process, you check the driving record before you have too much invested in that applicant, correct?
That's right. So with the first thing we do when we receive an application is we run the license number through the driver's license system, and it'll tell us if they're eligible to hold a CDL or not for a school bus certification.
Gotcha. Does it also pull a clue report so that you can tell any actual claims activity, or is it just a motor vehicle report to show violations and suspensions? You know?
It'll just show convictions. I can see the convictions, and it just simply says eligible or ineligible based on the DMV's criteria.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So it doesn't give specific reasons why their record isn't intact.
So I can look. Usually, sometimes it'll say it. Like for instance,
And the reason that I'm asking is because, as Gary just pointed out, there seems to be a big number, and maybe we I don't know, fish in another pond or something, because it seemed like that was quite a huge number. And I had a bus license, so I know the rigmarole they go through. And I don't drive anymore. Don't try to recruit me now. But but I know all that I had to go through. So it just seems like I just didn't remember that many people not making it when I was going through it. So is there something new that has happened where DMV is more restrictive?
So sometimes you'll see with DWIs are very common with folks. So any DWIs automatically take folks out. We can't even look at that. Now, sometimes depending on the convictions, it'll give us the date they'll become eligible. It'll say ineligible until such date, which if I can go through and track it down, it may be you've had too many speeding tickets in the last X amount of years. And we can, we can talk to the folks about that and say, try again later. So
as someone that deals with companies that have fleets of vehicles and have need for drivers, I can tell you overall, it's getting harder and harder to find people for my clients to put behind the wheel that have a satisfactory driving record. I don't know what it is, but it is. I don't know where the good ones went, but it just seems like it's hard to find somebody with a clean record or a qualifying record. And I know it makes your job harder.
Yeah, it can be challenging at times, but we're lucky to have the staff that we have here that are able to pull off what they're able to do every day.
Mr. Joyner, I'm curious, the 8 trainees that resigned or terminated, did they actually, did we pay to get their CDL? And is there any kind of retention policy in place? Like, once we make the investment that, they're liable to, the school district for a period of time or something along those lines?
So once we don't actually pay for the CDL license, but we do pay them as they go through the class. If they go through the class and get their commercial learner's permit, which we do not pay for that part, we do pay for the DOT medical. And I'll have to look back individually at those 8 to see if we actually paid for their DOT medical. But usually what we've seen is once they get their DOT medical and actually do the behind the wheel, they'll stay with us until they become drivers, and then they may fall off. But in particular, I think those 8 left us before they rode the bus for a few days and said, hey, this isn't for me.
Does the medical include a drug test?
Yeah, so any,
CDL requires a drug test. doesn't
yeah,
it?
before when we start the hiring process, they have a drug test right off the bat.
CDL licenses also require ongoing physicals, don't they, over a certain, is it annual physicals?
The DOT physicals, it ranges, they go up to 2 years for us.
Okay.
So depending on someone's medical condition, we've seen them, they could issue them every 90 days. They could do a temporary for 30 days, up to 2 years. So usually on average, it's a year or two, that's good.
Okay. Do we pay for those for our current drivers?
We do once every 2 years. So if they have to have it, and we only pay through our provider. So when they go to Ahmed, we pay for that once every 2 years, and we keep a record of when we pay for those.
Okay. If for whatever reason they're required to have it annually, then they're on their own for that one?
Yeah, for every other one. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if they choose to go to their own doctor, they're on their own for that.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'll just interject something real quickly. Ms. Morial, you asked a question about, do we have a way to maybe hold them accountable, hold applicants accountable for us paying them? We did institute a couple months ago a contract of sorts, which would allow us to recoup up to, I think, $500 for training cost. We have folks sign that when they come in and go through the process, so that we at least are trying to somehow hold them accountable for using us to get a CDL to drive a truck, for example. So I want to make sure I address that for you because you had asked that question.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Anything else for the transportation group?
Nope, I think that's it for us.
All right. We'll appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Up next, Dr. Harris, academic calendars.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's well on this rainy day.
Good morning, sir.
Absolutely. Let me see if I can't share my screen here. All right, can everybody see that?
Yes, sir.
Outstanding, outstanding. So what I'm here today to present to you all is the 2023-2024 draft calendar proposals for the upcoming school year. We follow the same process as we always have in previous years. All schools had an opportunity to meet with their leadership teams, and they were provided with calendar priorities to go by from the state. That leadership team consists of teachers, community members, parents, principals. So everybody's involved with this process. Then after that, the district calendar committee is developed and they review all the selections and choices from the different schools. The public voted on this between November, I believe, 15th through November the 28th. And I'm now presently presenting this to the SPIT committee for approval to the whole board as of today. These are some of the requirements that the state sort of lays out. As you can see, there's quite a few. We have to start and stop at a certain time of the school year. We have to have a certain amount of staff hours. I'm not going to read all these to you. You have to have a certain amount of student days, and all that goes into the process of developing the final calendar. There are generally a lot of questions on why certain days are certain places. We are bound by the state to do certain things at certain times throughout the school year. And I'm not going to delay any further with the vote that came out from the community survey. Calendar B or draft B was selected as the calendar for the upcoming school year. Basically, this starts on August the 28th, ends on June the 7th. As you can see in December, the winter break has the 2 weeks, spring break has the 5 days. Those are some of the priorities that we receive from the schools, administration, and other locations. And generally after this, I go and present this information to the full board after I receive approval from you all. Any questions for me at this time?
Yes, sir. Question, and I'd like to offer a motion for consideration for the committee. Dr. Harris, I would like to ask to have staff, that being you and whoever else, develop option C. Option C would entail starting the 23-24 school year at the appropriate time to conclude the semester at the Christmas, New Year's break, whatever date that needs to be in August, without sacrificing teacher work days, et cetera, holidays, and also to conclude the school year at the earliest possible date, taking into account the changes with that option in the fall semester. So hopefully we would end the school year sometime in mid-May, at least prior to Memorial Day. And whatever you calculate, we need to start the school year, obviously earlier in August. I'd like to make a motion to ask you to develop that option C and present that as well as the option B to the full board at next Tuesday's meeting.
Dr. Harris, what does that do to the timeline? I mean, it sounds like you've already had a vote and things like that. Is it, if we were to put this option in, how would we adjust the timeline in order to accommodate that?
So generally what I would need to do is develop another calendar, and the calendar would start probably around early August, from what I understand, and end around mid-May, as just indicated. I would need to bring that back to, I believe, SPIT committee and then get full approval to the Board of Education at that time.
Could you go back a slide and actually put the calendar up?
Certainly.
So we're looking at the semester ending on the 24th of January.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this would be a full like 3.5 weeks forward, right? So it would move it to the beginning of August.
Yes, sir.
Okay, was this already for consideration? Because I know we've talked about this over past years.
So the state does not necessarily sort of allow us to go down this path with regards to the adjustment. But we have talked, it has come up a couple of times in the past. We actually in COVID did this. We got permission from the state to do a similar proposed calendar as Mr. Sides had indicated in his proposal.
And I know there are a number of school districts that go along with this proposed schedule as well, right, in North Carolina?
There are, yes, sir.
Michelle, are you still?
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure we had a second to the motion also. I didn't hear.
No, there wasn't one at this point.
All right. So if we're going to discuss it, we need to have a second prior to continuing discussion. Take that there's no second. Okay.
So I am looking for a motion to bring draft B forward to the full board.
So move.
And Michelle, can I second that? You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry.
Yes, you can second.
Okay, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
All right. Passes the SPIT committee 2-1 to take to the full board.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. So as far as closing items go, next meeting is going to be January 25th at 7:30 a.m. and it'll be determined whether it'll be in person or via Zoom. We will be taking the academic calendar to the full board for approval at this coming next week at the board meeting. And was there any talk about, I haven't seen the agenda for this upcoming board meeting yet, but is there any conversation about the transportation update being presented?
We don't usually put the updates into the actual board meeting.
Okay.
It's in the information from this meeting for people to review.
Okay, perfect. All right, great. Well, anything else before we adjourn? All right, I will accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everyone.